Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. In a recent video we explored how humanity became one of the most dominant and also common species in the Star Wars galaxy. We looked at common traits within the human species that helped us survive and eventually grow and prosper. We took a look at the effect the Rakan Infinite Empire's slave trade had on the spread of humanity all across the core regions of the galaxy, which put them in the prime position to found the Republic and steer the galaxy towards a future created by humanity. Which leads us to the current Star Wars timeline where almost 4 out of every 10 living beings is human. Now, in that video, we didn't talk about another factor of why humanity became so dominant, and that is because of all the near-human species that were basically offshoots of humanity. Oh wait, guys, check this out. Check this out in the background. This is cool. Right? Look at that boat. Look at that huge boat. Let me know if you're on that, by the way. Looks like Norwegian. Right, sorry about that. What are we talking about? Dozens and dozens of near-human species who have all evolved from the baseline human. Before we continue though, a quick word from our sponsor for today's video, Movaglobe. Movaglobe produces these truly beautiful pieces of art that feature renditions of planetary bodies, with over 40 designs to choose from sourced from NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab. This is really a terrific gift for the budding astronomer at home, or your flat earther uncle who secretly really likes the idea of a round planet. But what really makes these things cool is the fact that they spin. Now, I'm not really good at holding these things completely still, but you can kind of see it, and they do it without any batteries or hidden compartments or cords. So how do they do it? Magic. It's actually not magic, it's science, and it's pretty cool. You see, inside of these Movaglobes, they actually have hidden solar panels that collect light and then spin the interior of the globes using magnets. And so as long as you expose these things to light, they will spin, and no one will know how these things work except for you. For more information about Movaglobe, check out our link in the description below. Plus, if you use our promo code GT10, you can get 10% off of a purchase of an 8.5-inch or 6-inch Movaglobe. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. Now, because of the sheer size of the galaxy and the finicky nature of the technology required to travel across the stars, all throughout galactic history, we see humanity get segmented and broken up into smaller groups, and for one reason or another become isolated from the larger galactic community, and at first begin to develop a new culture, and eventually even begin to evolve into an entirely new species that have adapted to the unique planet that they're on. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at more than a dozen different species that are all considered near human. This will hopefully give you guys a sense of just how quickly the human species began to diverge from an evolutionary standpoint. We'll start off this list with the species that are most closely related to humanity, and we'll end off with some, pretty divergent mutations. First, we have the Lordians, who from a genetic standpoint are almost identical to human beings, but because of their isolation from baseline humans, have developed an extremely unique history and culture, which earns them the title near human. See, a long time ago, the Lordinians were enslaved by another species known as the Argazdan Muralites. The Argazdan Muralites basically forced the Lordinians to never speak a word again. This was a way to maintain security, I guess. As a result, the Lordinians developed a very complicated system of communications using subtle gestures, facial expressions, and body posture. Another side effect of this enslavement was that the Lordinians became experts in reading the body language of other species. This makes them naturally really good card players and also interrogators. Now, in the modern time period, the Lordinians are no longer enslaved, but you still see a lot of Lordinians passing on this communication style known as kinetic communication that they developed while enslaved. On a side note, a small group of Lordinians even found the Brotherhood of the Beatific Continents, a forced religion in which members take a vow of silence. You can say that it was like the perfect match for their species. Next up, we have the Kefar. The only thing that differentiates them from humans really was the tattoos on their face known as Kukuf, which identify the family from which the individual was from. The Kefar also had slightly different blood color. It's more scarlet than crimson. And 1 out of every 100 Kefar possessed the gift of psychometry, or the ability to read the memories of inanimate objects through touch. This is quite a rare ability amongst Force users in general, and so to see such a high occurrence of this trait amongst the general population of the Kefar is simply unheard of. The Cage originated from the planet of Korzatite, where they lived alongside the more technologically advanced Belagon species in subterranean cities. The surface of their planet was very inhospitable. There were a lot of these high-pressured superstorms. As a result, the cage people had very pale skin and bright eyes. They were also known for their physical prowess, which made them excellent hand-to-hand fighters. Their infants were also known for forming memories from the second they were born. I guess it could be possible that cage babies develop much more in the womb and are more prepared for life when they come out. Who knows? Next up, we have the Pantorans from the world of Pantora. Their biggest difference from humanity, which you can probably visibly tell here, is that they have blue skin, which turns indigo when they get flustered. Pantorans do seem to have minor biological differences from humans other than that as well. They are more resilient to cold temperatures, and it's theorized that they could even see light in different spectrums. In Pantoran culture, it was common for individuals to tattoo their faces, which symbolized their clan and family. Pantoran also happens to be the species that George Lucas belongs to in universe. He plays Baron Papanoida, the supreme chairman of the Pantoran Assembly, who also happens to be a media mogul who is considered a terrific playwright. I'm also pretty sure he wrote Star Wars in universe, which is kind of meta. I like it. Anyway, if you happen to see a Pantoran who has red eyes, okay, then you're most likely not looking at a Pantoran at all. What you have found is a Chiss. What makes them unique is the fact that they are one of the few near-human species who have evolved and developed a civilization in the very dangerous unknown region. It's very likely that the early Chiss were just human beings, explorers who ventured into the unknown region and then were just trapped there due to all of the shifting hyperspace lanes. The Chiss's home planet, Cilia, over the centuries grew colder and colder, forcing the majority of the planet's inhabitants to live deep underground. From a biological standpoint, as mentioned before, the Chiss had blue skin and glowing red eyes. Their eyes had better vision than human eyes, and they could view light in the infrared range, apparently. They're also reported to have sharper hearing and faster reflexes. The Chiss had also a very special and limited relationship with the Force. Unlike humans, only Chiss girls could really connect to the Force, and they really had two abilities. One was precognition, the other was telepathy. And to make matters even worse, once these girls got to like teenage age, they would lose their Force powers. And so you could say that the Chiss were really cursed when it came to their connection to the Force. Much of what we know about the Chiss society remains completely hidden and guarded from the outside world for both political and cultural reasons. That, combined with their often angular and sharp facial features, made them seem quite dangerous and mysterious as a race. This is probably a side effect of the fact that they evolved in the unknown region, probably one of the most difficult starting places in the entire galaxy. The Zeltron are a very interesting species. Physically speaking, they look just like humans, but with different shades of red skin, and their hair range from red to blue. Perhaps even more important is the fact that every member of their species, or at least most of them, were highly attractive to humans, to near humans, and to some even non-human species. The Zeltron were said to have incredible metabolism that keeps them fit no matter how much or what they ate. Also, they have the ability to produce potent pheromones that can control unsuspecting targets, and a limited telepathic ability to read the emotions of others and at the same time project their emotions onto others as well. Generally speaking, the Zeltron, because of their very sensitive and empathetic nature, try to surround themselves with good vibes and people that are very positive, but those same skill sets also make them very attractive to criminal enterprises. Now, from a personality and cultural standpoint, the Zeltrons were obsessed with romance and sex, and when those options were not available, they just enjoyed fighting and warfare like the rest of us. It's not surprising that Zeltrons were stereotyped as crazy hedonists who dressed in skimpy outfits and viewed monogamy as impossible and were constantly seeking the next thrill. Now, some of the sexier qualities of the Zeltron have been eliminated by the new Disney canon, and I feel like this is because the original lore for the Zeltron kind of reads like a fan fiction written by some guy in his basement who's super horny and trying to, imagine the perfect girlfriend with purple skin. Next, we have the Mirialans. They hail from the desert planet of Mirial, and physically they had skin tones that could range from green, yellow, to pink and purple. Like many near-human species, they decided to go the route of the face tattoo. The Mirialans' face tattoos don't represent their clans, instead it represents their personal achievements. Mirialans were generally lithe and flexible individuals with dancer-like strength and builds. They're also a really deeply spiritual people, and a good percentage of Mirialans actually had a connection to the Force, which allowed the Mirialans to develop their own primitive belief system about nature and the Force. All Mirialan who joined the Jedi Order were strictly taught by other Mirialans. Perhaps this is to respect their unique belief system. The Mirialan, like many near-human species, could mate with human beings. and produce offspring. The Umbarans hailed from the Ghost Nebula, a region of the galaxy that was devoid of natural sunlight, but you can probably already tell by just looking at their pale bluish skin and colorless eyes. The Umbarans also evolved to see in the ultraviolet spectrum to aid in their survival on their shadowy planet. Umbarans were also noted to have very gaunt and emaciated-looking faces. Due to the isolated nature of their society, the Umbarans developed into quite a xenophobic people. They even had their own parallel technology and science that produced some truly remarkable machines. The Miraluka looked and in many ways acted just like human beings. The only major difference is that they were born without eyes. And they weren't just blind, they literally had no eyeballs. As in, like, if you remove the cloth covering their face, you would just see vestigial eye sockets, which is, like, really creepy. I mean, these guys are basically in the beta version of what they're supposed to be eventually, probably. And so, as a result, the Miraluka probably were pressured by other near-human species to wear cloths over their eyes, so to not freak everyone out. I mean, just imagine how distracted you would be. But unlike humans who are blind, most Miraluka are born immensely powerful in the Force and have a foresight that replaces their normal vision. Miraluka could breed with humans and create a hybrid offspring, but that offspring might have problems having children of their own in the future. Okay, now we're gonna get to the next part of our video. We're gonna start looking at even crazier mutations that go just beyond, you know, like different skin color and facial tattoos. First, we have the Zabrak. They're pretty easy to identify. They're basically bald-looking humans, and some even have horns on top of their heads. But it's really what's on the inside that makes them quite impressive. See, the Zabrak were native to two planets, Iridionia and Dathomir, and these were two very difficult planets to grow on and evolve on. As a result, the Zabraks became carnivorous due to the lack of vegetation, and also developed a second heart, which allowed them to pump more oxygenated blood around their body. This gave the species more strength and endurance. From a cultural standpoint, the Zabrak were fiercely independent. They hated other species telling them what to do, and so they made natural allies with the Rebel Alliance. And you would see a lot of Zabraks in the Rebel Alliance army. They're ground pounders. The Thelan were an extremely rare sentient species that could be identified by the pair of 3 horns that framed their face, along with spotted pink skin and brightly pigmented hair and hooved feet. Their colorful appearance seemed to align well with the artistic talent that most Thelans possessed. Interestingly enough, the canon notes that the Thelan were a colonial species that migrated and adapted to dominate many worlds, but in Legends, the opposite happens. Mutations begin to occur in the Thelan species in the last year of the Galactic Republic, which makes it almost impossible for them to have offspring with each other, and so they start crossbreeding with near humans and human beings in a desperate attempt to save their species. Rystel Sant, one of the members of the Maxar Rebo band, had a human mother, for instance. Now, these half-breeds were discriminated by the Empire, who had a very human-centric view of how they wanted their society to develop. But by 10 ABY, it didn't really matter that much because most of the Thelans, at least the pure Thelans, had already gone extinct. Finally, we have the Twi'leks, a near-human species that hails from the planet the Ryloth in the Outer Rim Territories, a rough and extremely windy planet. Twi'leks could have a wide range of different skin colors that covers almost the entire color spectrum. But their most obvious mutation from humanity were the pair of Lekus, or head tentacles, that adorn their head. Lekus were extremely sensitive to touch, and damaging Lekus could cause severe harm to a Twi'lek and could even cause them to die. The Twi'lek were able to have offspring with humans, as was the case with Jacen Syndulla, son of Hera Syndulla and Kanan Jarrus. Now, there are also many other near-human species that we just haven't been able to cover on this list. I mean, look at Dryden Voss, for instance. What the hell is he exactly? I have no idea what it is, but he definitely is a percentage human. And so are probably species like the Togruta. They have human-like faces, Twi'lek-like Leku, but they also have those horns on their head and that ability to echolocate and multiple stomachs. Sometimes there's just not enough information to prove all of these theories. But anyway, I find these near-human species to be extremely interesting. It kind of almost reminds me of what humanity has done to the dog species. We've bred so many unique and different shaped animals throughout the years with different temperaments. It's shocking that they could all come from a common ancestor. And in Star Wars, near-human species really does give a sense of diversity to the Star Wars galactic community, something that just wouldn't be there if it was all humans. Watching a silent Lordian and a blind Miralukan try to communicate with a confused Umbaran, only to have a Zeltron step in and try and explain the situation to all parties, and then proceed to try and have intercourse with all of them, is something you could really only see in the galactic city on Coruscant, in the Star Wars galaxy. But at the same time, these unique near-human species all come from the same place and have some shared values and genetics, which means creating a peaceful society, you know, based on some shared interests is going to be significantly easier. I truly believe that if humanity had not become so dominant and mutated into so many offspring species, maybe peace in the galaxy would never really be achievable. Instead of having one large government like the Republic or Galactic Empire, you might have several minor factions that are made of different races and species that are just constantly fighting against each other. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think about today's video. Let me know what your favorite near-human species is. And as usual, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy,